Now, I said it's not every day that somebody can set a track record on the first lap that they've ever driven a new car. But that's what this channel is about. And I did it again in a McLaren Senna.
Billy Johnson's got it done.
Billy Johnson on Pierre Kleinu and Billy Johnson.
My goodness.
Billy Johnson realizes it is go time.
120 mile an hour slide.
That 143.48 second lap was my first lap ever driving a McLaren Senna, let alone around Buttonwillow's 13 configuration Clockwise. And that lap was 3 seconds faster than the previous record that I held in the McLaren 720S. This Senna was essentially stock, from its 789 horsepower 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine to its full interior, down to its stock wheels and carbon ceramic brakes, except for one very important aspect: its tires. McLaren commissioned Pirelli to make a bespoke set of tires for the Senna in a 245/35 19-inch front and a 315/30 20-inch rear tire. Pirelli came up with a custom P0 street tire for the car, as well as a custom Trofeo R track focus tire. Unfortunately, this car didn't have either set of tires, because somebody recommended to the owner of this car to run 10mm wider front and rear Michelin M0 or Mercedes spec Cup 2 tires instead. Now, I'll post a couple links to some articles that I wrote in the descriptions down below that explains, one, not all Cup 2s are made the same. Bespoke Cup 2 tires are custom made for certain model cars' weight distribution, driving dynamics, suspension geometry, and so forth for certain Ferraris, Porsches, Mercedes, Fords, and so forth. You also have off-the-shelf Cup 2s, and you have the super sticky track-focused Cup 2R tires. So between all these Cup 2s, they dramatically vary from one tire to another. And two, you could have the same size tire or a narrower tire that has more aggressive compounding that's stickier and faster than a wider tire. So in short, I knew this M0 Cup 2 was not going to work well on this Senna, and if you own a Senna, don't buy the M0 Cup 2 for your car. There's much better tires out there, and there's much better Cup 2 tire options out there for your car than the M0. Another issue with this particular Senna was that it was realigned just before this track day, and unfortunately the owner of the car took out a significant amount of camber because it was advised to him by the same guy who had the brilliant tire advice. I'm not sure what he was thinking, because on a racetrack you want to have a certain amount of camber so as the car rolls, you utilize the whole contact patch of the tire to make the most grip possible. And if the tire's too upright to begin with, as the car corners, the tire rolls over onto the outer shoulder of the tire and it reduces a lot of grip. When I first approached this car, the first thing that stuck out to me was the lack of front camber in the alignment. I predicted before even driving the car that it would have a lot of understeer, and sure enough it did. But even though it didn't have a very good alignment at all, and even though the tire choice was less than ideal, I still got to drive a Senna, and I still got to set a track record, so check out the lap. Alright, starting my first lap ever in a McLaren Senna with brand new Michelin M0 Mercedes spec Cup 2s. Onto the front straightaway, little bit of oversteer. These tires are still cold as they're stickers. And starting the lap now, up over 145, braking down to third gear, a little bit of entry neutrality, then massive understeer, big push off to track out, almost running out of room there. Braking for button hook down to second gear, hug it tight, up over the crest, cars get free right here, and the Senna does too. Then it hooks up, power down the straightaway. Brake at the curb on the left, into cotton corners. Curb on the right, nice and tidy, understeer, waiting on the front. Understeer up over the crest, a little bit of neutrality. Yep, Senna does too. Big push through this right-hander. Then the fast right-left before bus stop. Massive understeer. Waiting on the front, just plowing through here. A lot of aero understeer. Brake into the bus stop, more understeer. Those front tires are just not hooking up. We need more front camber. Into Riverside, and big plow through here. The minimum speed's actually 99, which is really bad for how much downforce this car has. It just shows how much understeer there is. Braking up over Phil Hill, running out of room on exit there, kept it on track. Still just lack of front grip. This front end's not biting. We need that front camber. Into the sweeper. A lot of entry speed. That rear brake E-diff. It's not an E-diff, but it's rear brakes acting as a diff. Helps turn the car. causes a little bit more rotation, but still waiting on the front end. Waiting on the front end here, running out of room through the S's. Braking into Sunset. That diff didn't help turn the car. Big understeer and a little bit of oversteer right on exit onto the front straightaway. Finishing out the lap at a 143.48. So that 143.48 second lap was on a brand new set of Michelin Cup 2 tires. My second lap fell off by nearly 0.8 of a second, and I did a 144.26. And I followed that up with a 144.25. Not bad for consistency, but it really goes to showcase that one lap magic that's in a brand new set of sticker tires. Even though lap 2 and 3 were actually cleaner from a driving perspective than lap 1 because I had 1 or 2 more laps of experience driving the Senna under my belt. But that's just what's so fun and challenging about this channel, especially in an opportunity like this where I get to drive a new car on a brand new set of tires and really push myself to see if I can turn my fastest lap on lap 1 and use that new of the tire to get it done, or if that doesn't outweigh my driving improvement that I make on lap 2. Which we have seen in previous videos where I drive a new car to me on an old set of tires and I do turn a lap about 2 to 3/10 of a second quicker on lap 2. But now the most important question, does it drift? No, it doesn't. Or does it? Nope. Cold sticker tires in the turn 2 hairpin does not count as drifting. That's just power on oversteer with a lack of grip. I'm still going to say no for the Senna because at least this car just didn't have the alignment and the right tire choice. And also these cars have a ton of downforce biased towards the rear, so there's a lot of aerodynamic understeer built into the car. Maybe with a different tire alignment, a track with more runoff room, and more time to burn up the rear tire of the car, it might be driftable, but it just didn't happen today. Now let's compare some data between the McLaren Senna and the 720S that previously held the track record. Here's the data comparing the McLaren Senna in red to the 720S in white. On the front straightaway, the Senna is nearly 5 miles an hour faster than the 720 and gets to a 147.8 mile an hour top speed. The Senna also carries more entry speed into turn 1 and has a higher mid-corner speed at 68 miles an hour to the 720's 65. Braking for turn 2, the increased downforce of the Senna allows it to brake a little bit deeper, and then powering out of button hook. Both cars are pretty much dead even until about 97 miles an hour where the Senna starts to pull away from the 720. But with the increased downforce, the Senna is able to brake a little bit later than the 720. Through cotton corners, both cars are actually pretty similar. The 720 has a stickier tire on it than the Senna, and also the balance is better because the Senna has a lack of front camber and also a poor tire choice. Entering the fast right-hander and then the fast right-left before bus stop, the Senna is able to carry more speed, but it's front grip limited and just plowing with massive understeer. So the best way to go through these corners is to carry as much entry speed as you can with a little bit of trail braking to try to load those front tires to help neutralize that understeer. But it's not easy to overcome in the bus stop, and the 720 with a better balance is able to have a higher mid-corner speed through bus stop. Entering Riverside, the same rule applies in terms of carrying as much entry speed as possible, with the Senna in red going as fast into Riverside as it can, trying to load those front tires. The minimum speeds are actually pretty even between the two cars, but that's just due to the big front grip imbalance of this particular Senna. Going through the kink and then going to Phil Hill, the Senna just takes off and it's significantly faster by 5 miles an hour approaching Phil Hill. Through Phil Hill, the Senna is just barely faster through the apex of the corner, still massive understeer through there. But then powering out of Phil Hill, again at about 100 miles an hour, the Senna starts to separate from the 720 and pull away, and it's able to brake deeper into the sweeper. But the same problem plagues the Senna again in terms of waiting on the front end, and right at the end of sweeper, the Senna just is a few miles an hour slower, just trying to get that front end to bite and turn. But then it rockets through the S's much quicker than the 720. Even though it's plowing understeering through the last left of the S's, it's still able to have a higher top speed approaching Sunset, the last corner, with 143 mile an hour terminal velocity. Then it gets slowed down. Minimum speeds for Sunset are about the same, and then onto the front straightaway, both cars are pretty even. But the Senna is able to finish the lap despite having a lot of understeer from the tires and the alignment at about 3 seconds faster. Even though this wasn't the best representation of a Senna, due to its poor alignment and tire choice, it was still a lot of fun to drive and super fast to be able to set the track record for a production car. I'm confident with a proper alignment and a good set of tires, a Senna will be able to turn a time a few seconds faster than what I just did, into the 140s and potentially even the 39s on a good day. That just goes to show how much understeer the car that I drove actually had. So I'm going to reserve my judgment until I get an opportunity to drive another Senna with a proper alignment and a good set of tires, because it's not fair to criticize the car for massive understeer when I already know what was wrong with the setup of this particular car. But what I can say is from behind the wheel, there's a lot of the same McLaren DNA and feel that you get across the McLaren lineup. Most notably the rear end and what the programming does to the rear brakes to stop the inside wheels from spinning because there is no mechanical limited slip differential in the car, and that same programming will brake the inside rear tires to help turn the car and reduce understeer, which is something that I used quite often when driving this Senna, was carrying more entry speed into corners and using the computer programming to help turn the car and tighten the line, reducing that understeer that wouldn't have been possible with a normal mechanical differential. The ride quality and ride rate of the car is actually extremely stiff. If you look closely at the video, you can see the horizon actually bouncing up and down in a high frequency because of how stiff the suspension is, which is necessary for how much downforce the car is creating. And in all medium and high speed corners, you have a ton of security and you never feel like you're going to lose the rear end of the car. The car is just planted to the ground. Except in low speed corners where 789 horsepower going through 2 tires can still cause a bit of exit oversteer, but anything above 70 or 80 miles an hour, the car just sucks to the ground and you just have a lot of sense of stability. Well, that wraps up my one lap in a McLaren Senna. My first lap in the car was another production car record. Tell me what you think. Drop a comment down below and don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that like button. If you didn't like what you see, hit that like button anyways. And bonus, I'm including lap 2 and 3, that 144.26 and that 144.25 laps, as well as my first lap, unedited with no commentary, because by now you should know I hate watching in-car video with commentaries. So if you're into that, stick around. If not, thanks for watching.